live near South Pasadena, and I want to recognize you when I see you.
Haven't you seen my picture?
I don't even know what you look like either, Robert.
Oh.
But you're a mystery man.
You took that picture 20 years ago.
I could go like this. Hello. Hi, everybody.
There, thank you.
You recognize me now? That hurt my neck. Ow. I'm not getting any younger, I tell you that. Okay.
Sorry.
I know. I have this one. The problem is if I get too many wet things going, it pulls away my it messes with the Wi-Fi. So I could though. I have this other program which gets a whole lot of things going on at the same time, but they really draw a lot of. You have to have a lot of resources, a lot of memory, computer, a lot of bandwidth, you know, and it's yeah, man, it's not cheap. Okay, I was thinking about doing the yellow aspen #1, the one where you're looking down the path. For you know, you could do whatever you like. Yeah. Maybe I'll mute everybody.
Yeah, mute everybody, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
And don't forget to record.
Thank you. You know me too well. Okay. Let's see where we're at here. Record to the cloud. I always say that. I got to make sure I say that or I'll put it on my computer. Okay. So let's take, let me, I got to make sure I can see my stuff here. I got to see what I'm doing up on the computer so I don't draw this too high. Yeah, I did. Okay. So right there. How about we draw this one? I'll draw it over here. Approximately that big. And your proportions don't have to be exactly like what you're looking at. One thing I don't like about this photograph is that the path is going kind of right up the center like that. Like that. And it's not perfect, but I think it could use a little adjusting. So just remember when you're taking pictures of a path, it's a normal thing to want to put it dead center like that. So
Sorry, Rob. Which picture are we using, please?
the yellow aspen #1.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, that was Katie. I've got her paints today.
Oh, yeehaw.
Look at this. I made my own palette. Look at that. This is like a dish I got at the dollar store.
That's great.
I had it around just for mixing paint, but I thought, you know what? Why don't I just use that as a palette?
Yeah. What colors did you get, Rob?
What was that?
What colors did you get? Oh, look at you.
Look at that. This is the. I still don't know how to say it. My Mary Blue.
Mammary blue.
What was that?
Mammary blue. Mammary blue, I believe.
Mammary Blue. Okay, I like that. That's good. So I just got the same colors you do. I'm just going to give them a try here. Okay.
That's great. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, you know, it's a smorgasbord.
What is the brand name?
And they
Mammary
are
Blue.
Mammary blue. I'm going to put it in a chat
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, by the way, I researched that Charvin color, and I think you're right. I think they only come in pans. Really
Okay.
all dried out already. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, because I couldn't find anything else. There's lots of acrylics, but I didn't find anything that was specific to just regular tubes for watercolor.
Yeah, I did find a couple of tubes, but they were just white and I don't know, another one.
Okay, I'll let you know what I find. Okay. Wait a minute, did I spell that wrong? No, that's sort of correct.
So I'm going to put this path going this way in the piece, kind of more like that. Give it a little bit of an angle to it. And then we have these dead things going over here.
Rob, can you draw a little darker? I can't see very.
Oh, I'm
well.
sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I could draw this. I could zoom in on this too, huh? Let me. I got a zoom thing on my. So I don't just move my camera anymore. How about that?
Rob, are we on final paper or not?
Nope. This is just the
Warm up.
warm-ups.
Thanks.
So let's just draw a little plan here. So we have. Let's see. Let me get this off here. Okay. So I'm just going to pencil this out, and then I think I'm going to paint the rest in with black. You know, we're just doing a value study, just to let you know what I'm doing. So we have some sagey things over here. We have some little bushes over there, little green things, and they're all overlapping each other. Make sure you have them overlapping. Everything's overlapping. We have this neat looking diagonal over there. See, I thought I'd lay it in with a pencil first because I know some people are having issues with just drawing with the brush, so that's fine. We have, so notice how I just hug on to the main points. Like I have a diagonal here, I have a tree there, and my sky kind of comes in, breaking in, something like this. Like that. I don't want the top of my tree to stop right at the top of that, so either take it off or in other words, keep it clearly in like that, or take it right out like that. One way or the other. I think I'm going to move this tree over here a little bit more. And this is the white tree in the back. Sort of lost and found. Just letting myself know where there's a few trees and a few branches. And this value study thumbnail thing here is mostly just for placement. Notice how I zigzag the path, so you don't have this. I lay it in a straight line just to see it, but then I'll come back and give myself a little bit of a path, kind of a more organic edge there. Looks like there's a kind of a rock thing going on here. Might even be a rock back there. So that's enough drawing. Let's get some of this. All right. So if you just squint your eyes, the yellow is a very bright value. The lights on the yellow are very, very light. And we have a pretty light sky too. So let's just kind of come back in, throw in some value on that sky. If you don't want to paint these in, just put them in with the side of your pencil.
We're doing just the values now, and then we're gonna do a color test.
Yeah. We're just doing a value study. All right. And then we do have these wonderful shadows coming across, and they're a bit darker. So, and they really give a lay of the land. Notice how the path kind of goes down, see, down like that, and then up the other side. And things over here are in shadow. Okay. I'd say our darkest value is in this bush right here And maybe some of this way in the back, we have a couple of dark areas. Just to note, maybe under this bush over here too. Maybe we'll hit them again a little bit darker later. And we have a little bit of shadow on this tree, the right side. And it gets lost and found in the aspen kind of comes over it and loses and finds it. I think that's just fine for a value study. Mainly by doing this, you get a sense of, wow, I mean, you got some pretty light values on this piece. We do have this sort of dark coming up the side here. And we have this pine tree right here, which isn't really dark, but it's pretty dark. Yeah. Because it dried lighter, we'll have to come back and smack those a little bit. I'm going to let those dry up a little bit. What I'm looking at now is coming back and putting a little bit of shading into our yellows. It's a very light shadow. So let's just get a couple of those. Think of the light. The light's coming from this way, and it's hitting all the foliage on the tops and to the left a little bit. So we could leave a little white right here on the, probably should have left a little bit more for this, on this long trunk there, and we'll leave white on this one too. And really come in on both sides of this one in the background and really set it off a little bit with some contours on both sides. And that's the main thing to note on this value study is there really aren't very dark values. It's a light piece. With this one up here too, we've got some dark things happening in this. It's pretty good dark up there. Maybe this branch there. Get some more dark in here. I don't think there's anything any darker than that. These get quite dark back there. That's pretty dark. Let that out a little bit. Notice some little branches and trunks back there. I'm just going to leave it white, even though it's not white. I guess I could put something over the lights of the yellow. Very light value though. And I'll just leave it white on the path on these rocks. It almost looks like abstraction. And then you look at the picture almost looks like abstraction. That's why kind of the reason I chose it. I wanted this piece to be not as logical. There's logic to it though, no question about it, but not as leaving you a lot of opportunity to just let paint, the beauty of the paint, do a lot of the work for you. Okay. And then I can move this up. Maybe I'll do this one this way. I'm gonna do a color, like a color rough here. About the same size. And I like the composition.
Rob, could you move it up a little bit so we can see the bottom?
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
I'll draw a little darker too.
Are you starting your path in the corner or actual corner of the paper, or is it a little bit before the corner?
Over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right.
You
About there.
Rob, you need to move it to your left a little bit. We don't see the full. Yes, thank you.
All right, there. Okay. Yes, somewhere in that area. So the lay of the land goes around, down, up the other side, and over. And sometimes I'll use lines, but if you'll notice, the shadows really give you a lay of the land right there. So it just kind of comes up and then up, uphill, kind of scoops in for this. Oops, yeah. I muted you. Okay. If you don't mute yourself, I have to mute you. Okay. Just letting myself know where a few little branches could be. And again, we've got this contour on the top. And if you'll notice, they won't be identical, but relatively similar. I'm not going for a copy here or anything like that. I'm really going for more of a feeling, but there's definitely logic to it. Okay, that's about enough drawing, I think. And I'm going to take some ultramarine blue and put it up here in the sky. So that's the My Miri, or something like that. And ultramarine blue. Painting it in there just for color. typically it'll get a little bit darker at the top, so you could just give it a little bit more at the top. And then maybe a good place to start on these would be the lights of the trees. And I'll use a lemon yellow. Like, we'll start off with a pure lemon yellow. You might as well not mix it with anything because it's going to get mixed up with everything else anyway. Now let's give this brand name of paint a try here. I have to say already, I'm really liking it. Oh yeah. Has that got glare on it? Jeez. I'm lighting this from the top here. Let's see if that helps.
Rob, could you please write down the name of the brand?
I don't know if I can spell it.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat. Joanne wrote it in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
They ought to give me a kickback, those people. That is a nice lemon yellow. Wow.
I love it. I ordered it yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Thank you.
haven't used any better lemon yellow than that. So, you notice, and I'm avoiding the white of the tree right here. Just leaving it white. I'll just come back here too. I mean, wherever you want a white, just avoid it. But sometimes you might be better just coming back and hitting a little bit of white on there because it's too much control. When you want the paint to really flow, you almost better to. So we'll see. Oftentimes I'll just paint right over my whites when I do that, like I just did. I didn't want to do it on that one. Oh. I'll be a little more careful on the finish. All right. Yeah, that's nice paint. Just highly pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. It's creamy, easy to break down. Sorry. You gotta mute yourself, you guys. You gotta mute. I'll mute you. Okay. Now I'm gonna come up with some green over here. And I'm gonna come up with a pretty saturated green first because remember, you can always gray down a color.
Are you using a direct green or you mixed blue with the yellow?
You know, I just took the yellow that was on my brush, lemon yellow, and I happen to have a little blue down here on it, like Prussian blue. I think that was it. It's a pretty saturated color first. I'll throw it down pretty saturated like that. And I know there's shadows and things like that in there for now, but we can come back and just hit ourselves some greens. This will dull down in a second, so that's why I'm keeping up my saturation by just hitting it pretty pure like that. I'm seeing little greens up here, little greens up there. I mean, really, you could have greens all anywhere you like in this piece. I'm just waiting for that to tack up a little bit. We can throw down a little bit of color on our path, which is sort of a very light, but it's kind of, I want to emphasize the orangey quality of it. So I'm going to take the cad red. Oh, that's a great cad red. Wow. Yeah, I knew this was going to be good paint. I mean, usually when they make one color that's outstanding, usually all their colors are pretty darn good. I don't see why they would lower the quality on any other. So I'm just gonna throw down some dirt color all over here, and it's in the middle of the day, so it's gonna be very bright. I'm just putting it in there like that.
Is that the same brand? Is that the Mamiya Blue, the whole brand name, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I'm using, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It's like using Holbein paint. Oh, if you have Holbein paint, you know that's. But I wasn't aware that there are other brand names. Like I've used Sennelier, they're good paints. I've used Schminke, Old Holland. Those are two really good paints too.
I had some lady crush rocks and make me a whole set of paints out of
Kidding.
minerals.
And do you like them?
Yeah, they're really intense. Too intense.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I know. People can get really into it. I've seen them. You look at the videos on YouTube, but they get really into it. They want to know all about it. Okay.
Rob, not leaving any whites on the path at all, you just covered it all?
Yeah, I wanted to emphasize the sort of dirt color of it, yeah. It's going to be extremely bright, yeah. So we got this gray here in the foreground. And you could make it a pure gray, or you could make it maybe touch a little bit of violet by making ultramarine blue and magenta, put those together, and you get sort of a lavender gray, which I like. And then on the other side of the path, I have this gray, but it seems to be going more into a sage gray. So if you take, to make a sage, I can never remember the names of these paints. I see them and I know what they are, but putting a name to them all the time just always escapes my brain. And it makes me have to go into another mode and then have to get out of that mode and then get back into this. It's so hard. Like when I'm painting, I never think about those things. So that's why I go about 10 times faster when I'm actually painting on my own, just so you know. All right, so anyway, sage, Prussian blue. If you mix a little complementary color, which would be, let's say cad red in there, that will gray it. You really have to slow down to teach. It's not frustrating. It's just another mode, you know. There we go. Something more like that. It's pretty bright too on the top. I'm making all these little color decisions there. There we go. Some of these greens go in shadow, and they get a little bit darker. And I think we could carry some of these greens that are in shadow all the way around because they're pretty similar. Again, Prussian blue, maybe a cad yellow and a little bit of red. Some of those colors in there, maybe a little grayer. When you want a gray or green, just add a little bit of red to it. That grays it. All right. We got a lot of red in this too. I'll go with a little cad red, maybe a little magenta in there too. Yeah. See, by doing this little color study before you get into the real thing, you get the opportunity to play with it first. Make a couple of decisions before you go into the final deal here. We'll get some of those. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what it is about the names of colors though. I hear musicians do the same thing. I'll ask them about, well, what scale are you in? They'll go, what the, I forgot.
I want the job of naming colors though. I think that's a great job.
Oh yeah. I now when I'm in that mode, then maybe we should just do that, huh? Okay, this is Rocky Mountain sage. I think these are in the Rocky Mountains. Okay. And yeah, let's get a few of those darker values up into the trees up in there. And we get some pretty dark darks. Make yourself a brown. There's many different ways to make a brown. See, like for instance, you can make a brown by taking violet and yellow because they're complementary colors. But now in violet, you have red and blue, and yellow is yellow. So it's really just red, yellow, and blue, right? So if you take red, yellow, and blue, mix them all together, you'll get a nice brown. That's what I do. Just red, yellow, and blue. But sometimes if I see a little violet on my, or let's say I have a little green on my palette, right? I add a little red to it, and I've got a brown. Why? Because green is yellow and blue, and then I add red, so that I just made red, yellow, and blue, right? You know, after a while, you move yourself around the color wheel so much, it's the same thing. You don't even. You just feel the color. You look at a color and you can tell which direction you want it to go. Do you want it to go more saturated? Do you want it to go more gray? Do you want it to go more saturated? You work your way around with the colors next to it on the color wheel. I don't. When I want things to gray down, I go opposite on the color wheel, opposite. You just kind of feel your way around. Okay, now let's paint some subtle shadows into those yellows. And they will be very light. But some of them are warm. They have a little bit of, so I would add a little bit of, maybe in the cad yellow, then add a little bit of cad red. And again, if it's too saturated of an orange, go down and add a touch of blue to it. That will gray it. Because blues.
Rob, why are you choosing cad yellow now as opposed to the lemon yellow for the trees? Because of the shadows? It's
Oh, I'm just noticing that they were warmer. So now, I mean, now if I had cad red to the lemon yellow, that still would have given me a warm shadow. So either one of them would have been great. I can't tell you how many times people ask me how to mix colors, and I'm going, well, you could use this one or this one or this one. There's like 10 different ways to get there. But yeah, it certainly would have been fine just to add the warm, like the cad yellow and a little bit of blue, like very little blue, like maybe 1 or 2% blue. And then that'll give you a nice little shadow color too. Just subtle shadows. And I'm noticing some of the shadows in the trees are leaning toward the green side. So.
But aren't shadows cooler in general?
Yeah, they're still cooler than the lights, but they're a warmer shadow. Now, sometimes that won't happen because you have the light actually illuminating, actually shooting through the leaf in this case. So you're looking at a transparent thing. So that would be a case where you might get, in other words, on a solid object, you might get a warm light, cool shadow. But a lot of these leaves are very transparent and they're actually illuminating light. So the light hits them and they're like little light bulbs and they come off. So that might do a different thing. Interesting, right?
Very interesting.
Yes, I know. It's boggles the mind. It's not always warm light, cool shadow, but, and I have to tell you, usually you're best when you just follow your instincts. But you want some logic to this as well. We do have this like dark strip in the back coming, kind of dark back there. And then instead of using, you know, gray or something, I might go for something in the blue area and maybe some violets back there too. Now it glazed over the yellow, so it will turn into touch green. It's fun. Like I usually say, just remember the golden rule. If the value is right, you can use whatever color you like. I've done some of the most bizarre things thrown in a color that I just wanted to take a chance on because the painting just wasn't giving me that thing I was looking for. I wanted some I wanted the feeling like I accomplished something, you know? So maybe I took a chance, a real big risk in a piece, and just had faith in it. And there it goes, and it worked. And you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Because I really gets your heart pumping, you know, when you hit when you throw in a color in there and you're just kind of praying that it'll work. You see my fists praying. Sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. Okay. Let's make our little shadows across the road. Now, yeah. Now they're talking about something solid on the road, on the path, and they're very gray looking. And I'm thinking that some of the blue sky would influence the color on the ground. But you know, when you get in deep into a forest like this, sometimes the weirdest things will happen. You'll have yellow shoot through, and you'll get shadows that are the most unusual colors. But this looks like it really opens up here. Anyway, if you wanted to throw any color at all in these shadows, you could get away with it just as long as the value is right. So you want to make it dark enough. So now if I just went blue over these, the blue over the orange would gray it. And I think that would look pretty nice. But I'm going to use ultramarine blue because it has a little bit of violet in it already. And then I'm going to touch a touch of this beautiful rosy magenta. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is a nice one. You want to see that? It's gorgeous. Can you see it? Look at that color. I'm going to shoot that across my. Better to start them kind of sparingly in the beginning. These little shadows shooting across the path like this can get all cluttered and grouped up really fast. Probably pretty good. Good enough. I get some darks in this bush right here. Yeah, dark. I just used more of that violet in that bush. There's some interesting darks going down here too. You could vary that color as you look, maybe hit a little bit more blue in it, so in some of these darks if you like. Some of these. I know there's white hitting a lot of them. I'm not going to bother hitting every little white on there. just remember, we can always use white and come back and hit some highlights on our trees and think that we probably will have to do that in this piece. I'll keep an eye out for the watercolor police, so they don't come and get us. That was a joke. I can't hear you laughing. I know you're laughing inside.
Ha 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 ha.
Thank you. I just laugh because it just, it always reminds me, I always think of the look. I remember when I was doing watercolor and just learning on my own. Well, I had already learned quite a bit. And I ran across this other person at Art Center that was doing watercolor, and he was watching me, and so I threw some white on there, and the shock on his face, just the look. I mean, he was horrified. I couldn't believe the horror on his face. I thought, what I'm doing a painting. What's the problem? And I didn't know that people had such an issue with white. I mean, I didn't even know about it. So that always comes in, it's like burned into that look on his face is burned, etched into my brain forever. So that is a big deal to people. Okay. I think they learned it from their teachers. Just so you know, it's not a big deal to me.
We're glad you persevered in your vision in spite of the
Yeah.
obstacles.
Well, you know how it is at Art Center. People can get really into their little philosophies. And I get it. I understand. And I respect it too. I actually, well, I mean, right here, I do paintings that don't have any white in them. I make sure that I know how to do that. And that I love the quality of the luminosity of it. But I also love the quality of a little opaqueness again. You know, I mainly learned by copying masters. And then that's another thing I'll never forget is when I talked to, I wasn't talking to that person, but I talked to somebody else about it. And I said, well, now I don't understand. Sargent uses white all over. I've never even used that much white in a piece before. How come he can do it? And he's supposedly their God in a way, you know, not God, but you know, they're the one they really look up to. And another look. Here's the other look. Sort of, I wish I could draw it out for you. This sort of discerning look. He looked at me like, yeah, but he's Sargent. That's what the guy said. Yeah, but he's Sargent. Like, you can do that, but you can't do that.
The word is disdain.
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 Ew. Really? I thought, oh. Somehow I don't like that.
I could turn this into a political discussion.
Really? Please don't. I've had enough. I really just, I don't even watch. We watch game shows now. I love it. You know, we have this, I mean, some of these channels have the old game shows on it. It's so funny to watch them from like the 70s. They'll have like Match Game and stuff like that. And they say things, oh my gosh, you could never get away with today. But, oh my gosh, they're funny. Renee really likes it too.
Yeah, Jeopardy is the gold game shows now too.
I do love Jeopardy. Yeah. I don't even want to. It horrifies me every day. Yes?
Aren't there a lot of different schools of watercolor though, like transparent versus, I don't know what they're called, but I would think there'd be schools of thought on it.
Yeah, there are. I don't know. I think there's just basically the transparent school and everything else. Now there are some schools of thought that say that you can do any medium, including acrylics and gouache and egg tempera and anything else that's water soluble. And that's the, maybe dyes. You could use dyes. You could use, all kinds of things. And that's the only curriculum, is that it's water soluble. And I like that.
Isn't that Hector?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you couldn't technically call it, in a way you could call it watercolor, but if you want to be more pure, then how about just watercolor? Now, and now I have also seen judges that will judge a watercolor, and if there's white in it, it's fine, but it has to be used properly. So you're going, what is that? What does that mean?
I think it depends on the society, because the watercolor ones, you can't put any white or any opaque in your painting.
Right. So
Only transparent.
right. So some
society.
some judges will look at it and say, well, okay, you use the white to come back to the white of the paper, and then you glazed over it, and you didn't cloud up the paint too much. That is fine, and that is fine. We have no problem with that. It's when the paintings get all clouded with all the opacity and sort of they're not transparent, they're more translucent, where you're looking through kind of a cloudy color, and they don't like that.
And what if you're trying to paint a fog?
Yeah, I know. Who knows? I've just seen that. So it really depends on the club. These clubs have different criteria. They really exist in little worlds of their own. Okay, so this is pretty good for a color rough. Shall we get to it? Okay, here you go. I do want to do a big painting here. Sorry, that noise. That's the blower. I think he waits until like 10 o'clock. And then he goes, okay, I know Rob should be teaching about now. Let's just blow this thing really loud right outside his window. Okay. I'm going to go more vertical here. That means I need to pan this thing out a little bit in my zoom out. Oh, that's going to be big. All the way out, huh? Not that much. Pull this down. Yeah. Like that. You can see my little mess. My little art mess here. I was showing my wife how to draw kids. She goes, how do you draw a kid? Just like, because she teaches little kids. How do you draw a kid just kicking a soccer ball? And I started drawing. She goes, no. Oh, yeah, like that. I'm like, all kinds of stuff like that happening around here. Okay. Thought I'd share that with you. I'm going to start my little path off here, and I'll draw it. I'll draw it nice and dark for you. Just, okay. Let me put my little value steady, and there we go. Off going, just the path more going off of that direction. And I'm going to whiten that path a little bit more here. Going off that way. Give me a lot of area to crop in. Got a bush there, maybe a rock here with stuff on it. Stuff overlapping it, and then we have the red red stuff there. And we have these bushes over here, which, you know, you could just lay in like boxes if you like, if that helps. You don't always have to put in a lot of detail into your drawing. Sometimes I like to, I'll throw it in like a box. Then I'm not so adherent to the drawing. I will actually draw with the brush more. So sometimes it really helps to just draw these in like blocks. Noticing that they have a flat bottom. Maybe overlaps the path a little bit like that. I'm not usually this boxy about it. I'll just throw it in like this, like that. Just thinking in terms of boxes. And we have overlapping bushes going back. Right, and then we have this eraser here. And I don't like a straight line. I just put that there. There we go. I just put that there for my angle. You know, what will happen is you'll just have shadows, you know, going down and up and down and up, and they'll sort of define the edges of the path. I might even lay down a couple lines like this. I'll put them down on mountains and all kinds of things, just to give me the kind of lay of the land. I have a nice looking tree right there. You know, maybe on this tree, because it's such a demanding so much attention, maybe I'll just draw about how thick I want that tree. Okay, I hate that when I have charcoal on this eraser. That's not good. It'll smear into your piece. All right, like that. One back here. Same thing. Just letting myself know. Try to avoid that. Maybe I'll have to come back with some whites, but we'll see. And then I have a diagonal right here. That really adds. When you have all these verticals and these horizontals down here, it's nice to have a couple of diagonals. So the diagonal of the tree up here, you know, there's a diagonal. Anywhere you can find one, really push it. Maybe you have a branch or two. And I'm just going to scribble a few little tree trunks and things back here. This comes right off. You know, just take that right off. Maybe I'll keep this one on. Unlike my little compositional piece. We have more green stuff happening back there. We do have the green, what do you call it, pine, evergreen. How about conifer? Is that the right word? It's probably something like a spruce or my mom would know just by looking at it. She's really good with that stuff. It's a bull pine. It's a ponderosa pine, Rob. Come on. Sorry. I just thought it was gorgeous. Okay. A few of these back here. Mostly a bunch of guidelines, really. Just kind of guidelines. Got a rock back here, a little shadow on it. That's kind of nice. a little hollow, a little dark. Maybe it might be a good idea back here to really let yourself know where that dark is. You know, the one at the back. It does almost end right where the. I think I'll pull some of that dark behind this white aspen back there. That'll make a big deal out of it. So see, even though I do the studies, there's still quite a bit of room for alteration and improvisation and oh boy, where do we start? Yummy licious. Let's see, where do we go? This is one of those pieces where you know you could certainly start with the yellows. I think I'll start with the blues and the sky. And you know, if you like, you could, and I will, lay down a little water first. I'm not putting it down. I'm almost dry brushing it on there. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, ultramarine. You can try other blues too if you like. You don't have to stick to the ultramarine. Kind of cloudy effects. The water will take it and move it around. And I'll throw a little Prussian blue in my sky too. Kind of greens it a little bit. It's interesting. See a little bit of sky through here too. I'm using, if you notice, kind of a dry brush. Interesting, I'm dry brushing into water, basically. And if you notice, I'm not using a whole lot of water. Some of these little, let's say the white of the paper can get kind of hard edged. If you like, you could just take a wet brush and soften those edges, see? Just like that. Oh, gotta mute you. There we go. And let's see. If you like, you might even want to throw in just a little bit of magenta here and there. Watch, just little touches, see? Just kind of wake the color up a little bit. I say wake the color up. You've heard me say before. That's kind of a cloudy thing. There you go. Just stamp it with your rag. Anyway, I say, I lost my train of thought there. So I say the color, you know, gets a little dull, but I used to have a teacher that says, your color's going dead on you, Rob. You got to throw something a little bit more exciting in there. So usually dead color means it doesn't mean necessarily gray. It just means it doesn't have enough activity in it. So that's why I throw a little bit of variation into the color instead of just using one blue. And why don't we just go for that yellow, huh? Right. I would use lemon yellow and cad yellow. I've seen warms and cools. But think of this part as being the lighter part of the yellow. Am I going too fast for you? Here, I'll slow down. Oh boy. Yeah, this cad yellow is Well, I've never used a better cat yellow than this, so we'll see how it flows. So again, you know what you can do here, and see how the yellows on the page really just flow into each other? Well, why don't we get, again, I'm going to lay down, I'm just sort of dry brushing water down first. I try to avoid these tree trunks a little bit there. But so the water will make the paint flow. I have a feeling you know that part. Rob, I know it flows. And you might want to control the paint, you know. But I try not to control it too much. So here we go. See, there's just the light part. Don't worry about the shadow and all that yet. I'm going to go into the cad yellow. And see how we get little greens as it mixes into the sky. So that can be nice too. I'm going to paint it right over my green tree in the background here too, because it's, you know, it's a yellowy green. That was a lot here. I've got some interesting little tree trunks and things happening back here. But you notice how I'm not really all that careful.
So, excuse me, Rob, did you say you mixed the cad yellow with the lemon yellow? Or-
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing both.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, I'm keeping to a nice light value though. And don't worry, if it goes into your greens, it won't matter because greens already have yellow in them. They'll just paint right over. Isn't that fun? Don't you just want a reason to do that? I mean, look at that. It's done. You know, a good thing to do too, if you think about it, is when you're in a painting and you really like it, but you know you want to do more, take a little photo of it. I have, this is cool. On my little thing here, I could just take a picture. 1, 3, 2, 1. Did you hear that? My little webcam takes pictures of it. I didn't think to do that. I should have done that. I should do that more. That's something you guys can hound me about that. Hey Rob, why don't you take a couple pictures?
Yeah, it's all about us, actually. That would help us a lot looking at, you know, different things you did.
I'd be happy to send them over to you.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, because yeah, this software that came with this crazy webcam I got, might as well use it.
The other thing you can do is take a screenshot.
Yeah, that'll work too. Then I have to, unfortunately, then I have to crop into it.
Right.
But I guess I would probably have to crop into this too. I don't know what the picture looks like. Yeah, it's the picture is going to have all this in it. So, but good paintings start with a good start.
I just noticed on my end that I can request to record if I have your permission. Can I do that? I don't know how you give me permission. Oh,
I know, really. Couldn't you just? I think I have to go in and allow you. I have to go into your thing and allow you to, or something. I haven't done that yet.
huh. Okay, never mind.
More. Let's see if I go into more. Yeah, I can allow you to, if I hit your name, I can allow you to record. I can allow you to co-host.
Oh,
I can put you in a waiting room for being naughty.
can you make me a better
Rob,
painter?
Rob, just caution you. If you allow others to record, you cannot record. Only one person can record.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few little reds here in this bush here in the foreground. I'm gonna hit a couple of those in there and just. Adds a little spice there. Just let that set up a little bit. Maybe I'll come in with some of these greens in here and they. So I'm going to use that the cad yellow, Prussian blue. Yeah, by the way, that Prussian blue is nice. Oh yeah. I could have used more. There we go. And I don't mind just hitting that in there kind of dry, with kind of dry edges. I'm thinking it could be a little darker too. Oh, these are the highlights. We'll come in with some stronger shadows and things like that in there. And then anywhere else you see green, I see green over here. Now this green in the background over here has a little bit of orange in it. So that might be fun. Just make yourself a green and throw a touch of red in there. Maybe a little bit more. And notice how it just kind of works its way down in here. Between some of these. Little tree trunks in there. So it's just got this really light feeling right now. Hey, Jane, I have to keep muting you. I'll mute you again. Maybe accidentally keep hitting that button or something. It's okay. Just letting you know, maybe you're bumping it or something. Okay. We have some of these really, like here's the sagey color in this one. Let's start off with a really light. You know what that is? That was pure Prussian blue I put there, and I kind of like it. Very light though, if you'll notice. Like 99% water. But look, when I glaze it over yellow, I get a nice little green. Nice. Sometimes when I have a color like that I really like, I'll work it around the piece. Get little hints of sage you might not get any other way. Just kind of hint it in there. Because I got all these grays in here, and I sure could use a little bit of blue in it. Why not? Most of it gets swallowed up into the rest of the color, but you'll get little hints of color. I've got this big bush right here. It's quite a bit darker and greener. And maybe I'll throw a shadow over it later, but I just want to get it kind of knocked in there first. I just overlap, take it right over the base of this tree trunk. A couple more down into the base of this, till it gets a little darker into the base of this gray batch of twigs. Now that I'm working on that, I might as well hit. I'm seeing a lot of red in that gray too, so I want to get a little bit more. And so I threw a little bit of lavender into that. Kind of grayish green. Again, that has the all that lavender is violet with a lot of water in there, right? So but it acts like a, in this situation, you know, I already had sort of a blue-green, so I added a blue-red to it. Why not? I could even take my finger and kind of put out a couple little sticky things in there, maybe like that. You can see them like that. They're so fun. Maybe something a little bit dark at the base of that. Maybe it's time to get some road color on here. And it is very bright. It's really bleached out by the light. It's up to you how much color you want to put in it. It's almost white. It's like a warm white almost. Some people might use like what's called Naples yellow on it, which is just a very, very yellowy light color. I'm going to go with a more of a dirt color. Maybe a little more pink in that. It's really up to you. But I just used orange with a little touch of blue in it, and now I'm throwing a little magenta in there to pink it up a little bit more. I'll take that all the way down here. Anywhere you see dirt. And you can throw little batches of color in that. You certainly could hit a little yellow in it once in a while too. Why not? I mean, things like that. Even a little cool, a cool color down in your dirt can, like that, once in a while, just like that. And that was just a, you know, I have these colors all mixed up. You know, you get into these complicated grays. I'm just looking for something cool. I think there was like magenta over here and green over there. I'll leave that like that. A couple of cools just to break that up. And again, look, red, yellow, and blue. I mean, they're subtle. They're really subtle, but they'll keep the eye kind of moving around. And if I wanted to, I could just come back in with my towel and do this. You want to lighten it up? And that'll give it kind of a, you know, dirt texture to it. We like that. Some more over here. Whoops. Or that orangey stuff I wanted back there. More yellow back there. Closing up a few little gaps. I'm gonna wait for that to dry a little bit. I think I want to go for some of this dark back here. And I'm going to go with the magenta ultramarine blue, maybe a little more magenta than I was thinking. Go a little bit more red and just really pop a value back there. See, that dark really stands out in such a light painting. And I'm going to bring this behind to really set off. You see my color, I'm putting it on relatively dry, relatively dry, so it doesn't flow all over the place, but sometimes you want a little bit of flow all over the place. So what I'll do is just take a little water, just a little bit of water, and loosen up that edge a little bit. If it gets too like this, we're kind of razor sharp. Now maybe next to the tree we do want it razor sharp, I don't know. Just to really show off the yeah, there's a lot of yellow over that tree though. So I'm going to take a few little pieces of yellow and just work it right over. Whoops. You want some overlapping. Tree trunks all by themselves look weird. You want some overlapping. You want some foliage overlapping here and there. I noticed this one here in the foreground doesn't have a lot of foliage overlapping it, not until you get way up here. I might have to do something about that. Nature didn't work itself out right. No. Okay. And I'm noticing on these very light trunks, get quite a cool color in the shadows. And what would happen too is you're going to get reflected light from things into those shadows. So even though it's a cool shadow, you may get yellows and things like that happening in the shadows, because I'm sure that would actually happen in real life. I can't see it that well, and I kind of like that I can't see it that well. That way I can make it up. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw myself in a few little shadows, and I'm using ultramarine blue with a little bit of magenta, just a touch of magenta in there. And I'll just see it here and there. Just like that. Let me make that. Did I make that too dark? I don't think I did.
Rob, sorry, what
Yeah.
was your recipe for that one, please?
Yeah, that's a ultramarine blue with a little bit of magenta.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Wow, it
You
looks
don't-
so blue on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll really, it's not nearly that. I'm looking at the screen too. That's really reading this as quite a bit more blue than I see. You know, I wonder if I can adjust this a little bit. Let me see if I can. Image adjustments. Let's see what I got here. I don't think I can adjust the camera. Oh, that got me darker.
Maybe it's the overhead light that's shining.
That looks good. That looks pretty good. Oh, that's too much.
Really blurry.
Blurry?
It's very blurry.
Really?
Yeah, for me, maybe it's just my internet is unstable.
It's not blurry at all.
Yeah.
Oh, must be me.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh,
That
okay.
could very well be. That could very well be. So I have no effect. It really has to do with your bandwidth. I know I'm talking about all this stuff. You're going, huh? I've had to learn about all this stuff. Henry knows all about this stuff. But yeah, how much bandwidth you have has everything to do with how your piece is gonna look. Has so much to do with all kinds of other things too. Okay, where are we at? So we still have this really light piece. Let me look at my picture here. And what else? We've got kind of a brownish. This diagonal piece right here. I want to make a little bit more red than I see though. Let's take a chance here. I'm just kind of lose and find it. You could even throw that in a little bit on the dry side. Maybe a little bit drier. I can come back and hit some shadows on the bottom of it maybe. Yeah, it's pretty dark. I've seen some other ones here that just kind of, I'm kind of dry brushing these in. Just come back with a little bit, maybe something a little more cool. You know what, since I have that on the brush, might as well come up and put this beautiful one in here. Remember to mute yourself. I gotcha. Okay. My paper is starting to curl. Whoops. Let me put it under there. Behave yourself. Now I'm bouncing on this side. Tape. I need Ethel's clamps is what I need. Here it is. Thank you. It's still serving me, Ethel. I got another clamp over here. I'm Mr. Clamp. You wouldn't believe how many clamps I have in. My whole situation here is held together by clamps. Honestly. I should take a photo of this and show you. It's hilarious. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clamps holding my webcam and my, say something out of a Frankenstein movie. I'm gonna hit a few more of those little shadows in the background. There's something similar to this. See how these three right here are all parallel to each other? That's not usually a good thing. So what I'll do is I'll take a branch, let's say over here, and just kind of break it up a little bit, something like that. I've got a few of these. Typically, you'll have a branch or something breaking that up. If you look for it, you'll see little diagonals happening everywhere. And those are good things. You can get a lot of, there's so much vertical going on here, you need a few little diagonals to break things up. A little one up there. Pretty dark. And brown. Maybe I'll go a little bit bluer on this one.
So Robert, sorry, I'm behind here. The branches and the trunks, you're using blue and magenta or no?
Yeah, I have you know the color I used for the trunk right here, kind of a blue and magenta. Yeah, use that, and then I did throw up a little bit brown. I had a little brown on my thing, so I was using it for these. you don't want all your branches exactly the same color. Anyway, it gets monotonous. So I'm trying to break it up with some browner ones, some bluer ones. When I do a twig, a lot of times too, I'll just lose and find the edge. As if it's going, in front of and behind leafage. I can show off these whites on this chunk here by putting something dark behind it. See? And that makes the lights stand out a little bit more. Not the best color I could have ever used, but sometimes you don't want gorgeous color everywhere, or should I say pure color everywhere. Sometimes you just want a few grays balancing things out. That's what grays do. Grays, the rule is that grays give life to your color. That's something you want to write down. Grays give life to your color. Pure color next to pure color, without any gray, they look a little bit, it's like putting a gray next to a gray. You just want some color balancing that out once in a while. I'm just, on my white one here in the center, I'm just hitting a little bit of something on the side there. And again, for same colors we used in the demo, I'm coming in with sort of a violet on the ground. Let's make up that shadow color. Make a whole lot of it. I'm gonna go a little bit more magenta with this. I have ultramarine blue and magenta, but maybe a little bit more magenta than I was. And if that gets too much, then I'll add more blue to it. Okay. Now, a good way to do these is get your brush, spread your bristles a little bit, so you'll get that draggy effect like this. See? See? That might be a little on the red side. I want a little bit more blue than that. There we go. And let your strokes kind of go with the flow of the land. How it kind of dips down in the center. I want this drier. So down and up. Up the other side. Maybe down the other, right there. Kind of dry brushing that in. Actually, the dry brush works a little bit better. I'm going to slant that a little bit toward the blue side a little bit more now. Just a little bit bluer. And as we get further away, those little shadows, they get more like lines. They're not so big over here, they're really thinner. But notice how the shadows on the left-hand side, that's where they start. That's where the shadow begins. It's like this bush right here is casting a little bit of a shadow down their path. etc. So you want to make sure you get a lot of shadow up and underneath these bushes and things that are lining the path. It's probably good enough. And then they kind of climb up these right here, and then they just kind of cover things. Up all this. I just use the same color. That's the actual color I'm using because I just dragged it over white. And I can just take some other colors and glaze it right over that. Thinking of this bush as more like almost like a brick shape, it has shadow on the left side of it, like that. So it has a side, a top, and a front side to it here. And I know it's weird to think of a bush as kind of having dimension to it, but very much like a rock or like a cube like this. You know, it has a top and a side and a front side. And that front side will be mostly in shadow. Looks like it has a good, smart little dark. Really smack a dark at the bottom there. Look at that. Smack it right down in there too. That's what'll show off this bush. Little darks in there. Aren't they great? Those little darks start giving life to everything. I'm just dry brushing this right over this bushy thing. I'm using a dry brush because just look at what I'm painting. It's literally dry brush, isn't it? I'm painting dry brush with a dry brush. No, but it makes sense, right? I mean, if you look at it, it just looks so brushy. Why not use a dry brush? All right, and this right here too. I'm gonna throw that in kind of dry brushy. This bush is kind of dark, shaded, maybe a kind of a greenish color, a dirty green. How do you make a dirty green? Well, make a green. If you have a green, you can use that. If you don't have a green, use Prussian blue, cad yellow, and then to dirty it up, add a little bit of red. Because you just basically made a green and then you threw in the complement. Some of these darks, I'll just dig right into a Prussian blue and throw that in there. Like these two right in here, that's just straight Prussian blue. Gives you a great dark. Maybe underneath this rock here too. Give it a couple of little sides. It could be there. When I talk in that voice, who could be there? I'm doing my Scooby Doo, just so you know. That's my Scooby Doo. Shaggy. Hey, you gotta have fun, right? I do get funny looks though. And I just look right back at him and I think, if you're having as much fun as I'm having, you'd be making Scooby-Doo voices too. Okay, now, you know, we have some pretty flat color in this, in all of this foliage, and I want it to feel more dimensional. So I'm gonna bring in some of these subtle values of shading in there, but they're a very light shadow. So, whoops. Almost broke down the house on that one. Okay. So I'm going to make up some shadow color in the same colors I use for this. Yellow, like an orange. I would use cad yellow, cad red. And if that gets too orange, like, and I'm throwing this down there and it's too orange, actually that looks kind of nice. You want to use a little bit more of that. Ooh, man, this cad, the cad red is extremely powerful. Wow. I just used a little touch of it and it went all, just dominated. The yellows, on the other hand, are a little bit weak. I'd have to say, in this, Mary or whatever it's called, wow, that is one power. That's maybe the most powerful cad red I've ever used. But on the other hand, the cad, I was expecting the cad yellow to be more powerful, and it's not. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But you know, one thing about yellows is that they're usually weak. They're usually your weakest color, and I'm honestly oftentimes looking for a little more powerful yellow.
Rob, maybe it's a cad yellow light.
Well, I'm just talking about how it gets dominated by other colors.
Okay.
Yeah, the cadmium and or the, how do you explain that? I'm gonna get off topic here. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I've got a little bit more yellow dimensional color in there. We can call it a shadow. It's almost like a halftone. We call it a halftone. You got a more orange halftone here. You could even go with a greener one. Just makes anything kind of a little bit bluish into it.
Oh, and Rob, in the light of the watercolor police, when I started in watercolor, I was so scared of using CADs.
Cadmium? Oh.
Any CADs, because they are supposedly less transparent.
Oh.
Blah, blah, blah. But in any case, I thought, you know, if I want transparency, I cannot use the CADs, and you use the CADs all the time. So I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're transparent. Yeah. They do have a little, yeah, you're right though. They're a little bit on the opaque side. Maybe a little green in there every once in a while. If you really want that paint to flow, because I mean, my yellow is pretty much dry. I can use just water, right? Just water, throw a little water down there, like let's say right here, and I can come back and hit a little bit of color on that, and the water will do the rest. The other technique is this. Put it on kind of dry like this. Okay? Maybe it looks a little stiff, but it was really controlled. Maybe you got it really right where you wanted it. Now I come back with a little water and loosen up that edge just with water. and the water will take it. So you have a little more control with that technique of laying it down on dry paper and then coming back with water. So those are two ways to do wet into wet. Lay down the water first, then throw the paint into the water, or put the paint down over the dry color, which is a glaze, right? This is a glaze. That's glaze, but see, it's a little stiff. So, of a stroke. So I can loosen it up by just adding a little water on the corners there. Just, not take it. Little greens here and there. I really want a nice dark right up next to this. I use cad red in that. Look at that, cad red and ultramarine right into that. I want that thing to pop. But I wanted to give it some color, so that's why I added red into it. I know it's not that way up there. Sometimes, you know, what's up there just isn't doing it for you. You know, you gotta give it your little artistic touch. You see how we're following all kinds of rules here, but there's lots of things we're doing. There's lots of room for improvisation, creativity. I like that red. I'm going to use a little bit of water into those reds just to loosen up those strokes a little bit. Get the water to get into the flow a little touch. I've got all this over here still. Some grays, blue grays, warm grays. There's a white rock over here. And I'm going to put a, because you're typically on a white rock, you'll have a very blue shadow. Because it's reflecting the sky most of the time. That shadow will be bluish. I could do the same thing over here. I could take some of these up and over here and just kind of go over this rock right here, as if this shadow is kind of coming up. So anything white, this is why you see a lot of artists like to paint a white house or a white wall, or because what they're really painting is the reflected light. So like a shadow going up a white wall, you'll have blue in it, but you might have yellow, like maybe you might have green from the grass. There's all kinds of things that could happen. A lot of the Impressionists paint the women with the white dresses sitting on their, and you think, how, you know, I don't know about that subject matter, kind of, whatever the word is, but they're really not painting I could tell they're really, because they really get into those dresses, and they're not painting the dress, they're painting the color of the light on the dress. And I'm sure these wealthy women would, or maybe they're cigar smoking, with the three-piece suit and the watch in there, you know, and those and the one little eyeglass, you know. Hey, John Singer Sargent, what do you say? You paint my wife over there? I'll give you, I don't know, whatever you care. I mean, I got so much money, it's ridiculous.
When I first saw Soroya, I couldn't believe
Yeah.
somebody else could do whites like Sargent.
Oh yeah, he maybe even better. At least as good, no question. Yeah. Well, they really trained each other though. So much of the training is not only identical, but they learn from each other. You can see the same. So the big four artists that come out of that Valencia school are Sargent and Soroya. Well, Zorn too. Yeah, no, there's five. There's probably more. Sargent, Soroya, Zorn, and then the other two are lesser known. Well, William Merritt Chase is not lesser known. William Merritt Chase is a great painter in his own right. But there's this artist named Frank Duveneck. There's a great book called The Unknown Genius. It's a book about Frank Duveneck's life. Real tragic life. But he really was considered by those artists as being one of the just amazing artists. And I've seen, especially his early work, is phenomenal. And he's American from like somewhere in Missouri or something. Yeah, there's a book at Art Center in their rare book section. He comes over to America, and I don't know, a lot of really tragic things happen to him. And so, I don't know, he doesn't really paint high society and everything like Sargent and all the others. He really gets into America, sort of middle America. I don't know, I think it just became, I don't know, what's the word? Just kind of swallowed up in the life. I'm gonna throw some shadows into these right here, just like that. Just dry brush those in. That's just green with a little bit of red in it. So cad red, cad yellow, and Prussian blue. But anyway, yeah, I copied a lot of those Frank Duveneck paintings when I was in school. I was really lucky. I fell into a group of painters over there that really come from art families. Taught me a lot. You notice I'm dry brushing these on there. I mean, if you look at pine needles and things, they just look dry brushy. They're sort of suited for it. Some things just are much more suited for a certain technique. Like I probably wouldn't dry brush a rosy glaze over somebody's cheek. Although there's probably somebody that did it and got away with it and looked great. Would be a thing, but now in the hair would be a good place to dry brush. So I think of things like that. I got a lot of dry brushing going on in hair. All this dead stuff in here. What a great way to handle all this, huh? I mean, now we're at the end of the painting, so it's all about edges and darks.
Rob, somehow I've lost you from the main screen. I can't pin you anymore. Is that just me? Maybe it's just me.
I'm wondering if you're having maybe a bandwidth, or maybe your Wi-Fi is.
It's you, really. Yes. Could be. I see you in the gallery view, but I can't get you pinned anymore.
Pin. I should be. What kind of computer are you using?
What kind of what?
What kind of computer are you using?
It's a Mac.
So, does anybody have a Mac?
Yes, and it's working beautifully.
No, I'm just wondering.
I do, and I still see Rob.
No, but I was just wondering if.
Monica, pin the speak. Don't stay in gallery view. Go. Isn't there another choice?
There's gallery
speaker
view.
view.
And there's
Speaker view.
speaker view. Try that.
Okay.
Is that working?
No.
What do you see when you hit speaker view?
I'm goofed up. I see just gallery view. I don't have an option for.
Click gallery view and speaker view will come up.
Okay.
Didn't it?
No, that's not working either. It was.
Well, I have a Mac and I can click gallery view and then speaker view comes up.
Are you on an iPad?
No, I'm on a Mac desktop,
Yeah, that's what I have.
and it was fine a couple minutes ago. And
That's what I have too.
Why don't you leave the meeting and reboot,
Yeah.
turn it off and on and come back in?
yeah, I'll try that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's probably it.
Bye.
No problem. See ya.
I hope so.
I'm just kind of coming in and hitting some darker things. Doing some dry brushing here.
Oh, there you are.
It's working now?
Yeah. I'll be
So then
quiet.
yeah, that sounds like you're having some issues.
It could be a wetware issue.
Oh,
You know what that is? Yeah.
Drum roll, please. So, yeah, a few more little sticks and branches and things. Sometimes when I hit a branch, I like to come back with just water and do this, just water, and I'll lose and find the edges of it. So it looks like it's going in and out of foliage, like that. And if I don't like it, I just add it back in. Just remember, you guys, to here, I'll mute you. Try to remember to mute yourself. I know it's sometimes the recording will go to you instead of on this when you forget that. So I've been told by some of the people that's why the core recording will go to you when you're not even asking a question or anything. You don't realize that you're actually being recorded rather than this being recorded. And I don't know what happens with the mute. Sometimes you might accidentally hit it. Now there, I'm actually putting it on semi-opaquely. You can, especially the lemon yellow will usually have a little more white in it than the others. Like let's say I wanted to bring a little bit of foliage over, see? It's almost like gouache. You can still see through it a little bit though. So that might be questionable by the people that don't know a lot. Maybe they do know a lot. It's an attitude, you know. I've been trained in more of a when you have my art history background, you realize that we've been in a time for a long time now, ever since the Industrial Revolution. artists have been shooting toward the goal of having as much freedom for expression as they want. You can really see it start at the Industrial Revolution. But then, you know, this is what opens the door for artists like Picasso to just be a true creative spirit.
What's the theory behind the Watercolor Society of being so strict?
Oh, no. I think what they're trying to do is preserve the luminous, sort of transparent quality of the medium. Yeah, they want to be able to see through into the next color. And whereas my idea is making a good painting, just making a painting that works, that looks good, and you can see that the artist was at one with the painting and in a creative spirit. And so I'm looking for all these things that they're looking for technical things. Okay, and really what it comes down to is it's a technique. So the transparent thing is maybe it's a little more technical to preserve that technical or the transparent quality. Also, it has a beauty to it. So right now, really, that's almost 100% watercolor. I do have a little bit of semi-opacity where I brought some of this yellow over that. I think people might even have a problem with that. I would be like, wow, that would be astounding. But they really want to maintain this idea that it's supposed to be a transparent medium. And really, that idea comes mostly with all these clubs. I don't remember, if you look at the great art, many of the great watercolorists, you can tell they liberally use whites and all kinds of opaque colors as they see fit. So it surely doesn't come from an historical, like, you know, it doesn't have an art history sort of, it's like an art club thing, you know? I think that these art clubs get so lost in their ideas and rules, they forget about that art has this whole history to it. And so much, especially, like I say, since the Industrial Revolution, art's become a world art. You know, many of the ideas I'm using in here are Eastern ideas. So the way I have a pretty unique education in art history, and that I spent a year and a half as the TA of an art historian, and the class was called Comparing Eastern and Western Art. And she would compare and contrast Eastern ideas and Western ideas. That really got me to see very clearly the difference between Eastern and Western thought. The art shows it. The art is very clear. That's what's so great about art. You don't need words. You can see it. You can see philosophies and ideas in the art. And you see those same ideas being adapted by modern artists. And you're going, oh, I mean, I know that's a revolution in Western painting, but they've been doing that for centuries and maybe thousands of years. Who knows how far it goes back? Upward into 4,000 years of Chinese painting, Sui. I don't know when Sui started actually, but I'll bet you Henry knows.
Rob, officially the landscape painting starts in the 7th century, but it was inspired by the movement of the landscape poetry, which starts maybe 4th century. So the documentary, the history starts in the 4th, 5th century. The actual archaeological evidence we have. The earliest painting is about 7th century, but it's really matured in the 10th century to maybe 12th or 13th in the Song Dynasty. That's the class I was. That's a survey class I'm teaching actually. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the Zen painting in Japan. If anybody interested, to just go to YouTube the same time this time. I'll be talking about Zen painting. We have 3 schools in Song landscape painting. The monumental school, monumental landscape, which covers the mountain from foot to the top. And then the one corner school, the Southern Song Dynasty, they focused on one corner or a half of the page of that landscape. And then we have the Zen school, which is more of inward looking. You have to understand the object of the mountain before you do it. In Western art, we start to learn about the trees and the rocks when we paint it. But in Zen painting, you have to do the homework before you do it. The execution is very spontaneous, but you have to have a grasp of the essence of it before you do it.
That goes back to that old story about about this. Well, how much time do we have here? I don't want to get too much into it,
but your painting is very oriental, so to speak. Thanks. Very calligraphic. We call that literati painting, which is poetic, done by poets and calligraphers, scholars, rather than artisans. They are more emphasized on academic training. So they have a nickname called literati painting, also translated as scholar amateur painting. So you have to be a historian or a poet or scholar. Yeah, that's the so the painting have an expression of thoughts. So it's a painted with heart or thought, mind. Zen painting, I like that. Yeah, Zen painting has no heart, mindless. It's a reduction of that. So it's very different. We can tell the difference if you compare the two. Okay. Anyway, tomorrow.
I get it. So one is more about the analysis and one's more about the feeling.
Yeah, the feeling could be very subjective, or you know, so every stroke has a thought in it, like calligraphy. But Zen tend to be more careless about that. So they against any rules. They are more seems
I'll
like
bet you take that too, huh?
Yeah, but they are still played in the same ballpark with same set of rules, like yin yang, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
But they are they just try to prove anything could be painted, like the specimens or rocks or old trees with no leaves on it, that kind of but they think the rule is the same with those more consistent forms. So because the inconsistent forms is more free of expression, so it's favored by literati and Zen.
Henry, I have a question.
Interesting. Literati, I want to look that up. I know about Zen, but I didn't know about literati.
Yes, please.
Literati drank while they painted.
Sake, huh?
Drunk. Those poets like to drunk. I think it's between the it's between the state of sober and conscious. So half drunk, and that's the best state.
Oh, that's funny because I remember Carmian said, you know, you shouldn't. I know. Let's tackle this idea of drinking and doing art. And he said, the thing about art is you want to be very conscious. So he goes, but there's nothing wrong with maybe having a beer or a glass of wine or something like that. But don't go beyond one. He said, then you start, you see your work gets sluggish, I guess. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, maybe at the beginning stage, you could be more drunk, but at the finishing touches, you wait the second day, the next morning to do it.
Yeah. I would say personally, I don't do nothing. I can't do any of that. If I do that, it just won't work.
Yeah, I'm not a drunkard myself.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't drink.
yeah, sometimes I close my eyes. When I start a painting, I close my eyes without looking at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of same idea, like.
Whoa, that is.
You start
Oh,
from.
the other thing you can do is, hey, have you ever tried this? Close your eyes, look straight up into the sky, and then spin around really, 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 really fast, and then try to paint.
Yeah, you can look at your object and paint without looking at your canvas. Like you're doing some blind drawing, right? You trace it with your mind. Mind eye. Yeah. So your hand never leave the canvas of drawing paper when you draw. That's I think the Western artists have the same kind of idea, but
I think a lot of Western artists could probably put down the wine bottle as they drink a little bit more. Might help them. That's my main critique right there.
Anyway, it's a fun thing to compare. I heard that many impressionists have bought or collected the wood block printing from Japan, like Van Gogh. Yeah. So they really are inspiring for them.
Yeah. Okay, everybody.
Okay, I'm ready to send you the copy now.
Yeah, let's how about you guys send me if you have it.
Okay. Thanks.
This one needs a big. Oh, Henry stamp right here. Right there. I'm gonna put it right here. And let's get to it. Let's get into these cribs. I'm gonna put my stamp right there. Oh, I like that. Didn't get in there as much, but I like.
Yeah, you need to wet the paper. Is that damp?
I did wet it.
Okay. Yeah, you have to.
Like that though.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You can. You need to clean the stamp. If it has residual, just wash it with an old toothbrush and detergent or a gentle, dishwasher or something.
Okay. Yeah, I probably have some stuff in there.
Yeah,
right.
that I saw that there's some stroke got stuck, so you need to clean the stem after each use. Yeah.
I will do that. I'll just leave that there. Okay. Well, okay. I see Charlotte, always the first one. You, and there's Jane. They're coming. There's Alice. Get some water here. I think we're about ready to get going. Suzanne. Okay, I'm just gonna get started. You guys can just let them come as you see fit. Okay. Hey, cool. All right. And let's screen share. And you can unmute yourself if you like, sure. There. Maybe she stepped out. All right, I'll move on. Oh, I got a whole bunch now. Wow. How about I do Jane? Are you there, Jane? Maybe just unmute yourself.
How's
Hey.
that?
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. I
All
just
right.
already,
Yeah.
I just sent you a second.
Beautiful. Nice color. I love how the blues and the yellows pop off one another. And let's see here. Okay, I could see maybe in some of your greens around occasionally, you could really hit a lot of saturation in your green once in a while.
Mhm.
And we have kind of a straight line here.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we could just break that up a little bit. You could try to loosen that edge up a touch, like this right here.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit of that here. You know, you could break some up. Maybe pull some little leafage, little.
Yeah, good idea.
I mean, it can happen, but not. I mean, sometimes on a really worn path, you can get a really straight edge, but usually it's more artistic if you get more of the whole sort of thing flowing back. This edge just looks pretty good to me.
Can I change that now with just adding the dark a little bit? Because I can't get it back light.
Oh yeah, just add a little dark, sure. Yeah, we could take a little just add a little bit of, just take a little bit of your shadow foliage.
Right.
To break up this line.
Right.
That's all. Yeah, sure you can. We have this. This is an easy fix too. But see how it stops right where this one starts?
Yep.
So I would probably take it behind there a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Good idea.
A little overlapping. I know everybody does it. I do it all the time. I'll look at my piece. I'll look at this piece later on and go, oh, I'm sure there'll be something. There's always something. Then we have this right here is kind of all by itself. I'm wondering if we can link it to something or maybe soften the edge.
Sure.
What you can do is just wet that and soften it. So it just sort of obliterates into maybe a feeling of other leaves covering it. You see how this one too, this piece of foliage right here.
Yeah.
It's just on one side. I might take a little bit over on the other side. You know, do whatever you like. But I would just get that feeling of overlapping. You see how we're having the same issue there. Just you have a little bit over here, maybe a little bit more, so we get that feeling that it's not too weighted on one side. You wouldn't want it perfectly balanced either, right? You certainly wouldn't want
No.
another piece of foliage that's exactly the same on both sides. But It's, you know, it's all about asymmetry. Think of that word, asymmetry. So not symmetrical. And you don't have, this is a very asymmetrical piece you have here. It's just a couple little things, little overlapping can really help. Now this rock really stands out, just so you know. And I wouldn't pull it behind here. But what I might do is cast a couple of little shadows over it.
Sure.
Just to make it feel like it's kind of almost spotlighted right now. And I might do that with, I like to use blue because if it's a more white object, and something like that. And if you want to give it a shadow side, dapple.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that mine, I thought it looked a little bit better when I dappled a couple little shadows here and there on my light. You know, you could have branches casting little shadows that kind of sweep around.
Exactly.
Yeah, so occasionally a couple of those can help, especially when you have foliage. You might get a little shadow right underneath the foliage. That can help. I love this little shadow you put there. That really describes the farm. I don't know if you saw me there, but I'm way down here.
Yes.
I like how you brought that up over there. All right.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I wouldn't have picked this picture ever, but
See what you can do.
it's a good lesson.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, are you back there, Charlotte?
Yeah, I'm here. Every time you click me on, I go off. So I've got two computers going right now.
Oh, you didn't step out? You mean your thing? My thing actually went off?
Yeah, every time you click me in, I go off. So I'm in. I'm in now, sort of. I'm in.
Kind of, sort of. All right. All right. Well, you really got the feeling. Wow. And let's see. We've got. Did you use a little bit of white in there or no?
No, no.
I never did. Probably could have though.
No.
Let's see. It's just a very, very intuitive piece. Yeah, I love this diagonal you have going right here. This is.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be too specific.
Yeah, just more of like a mood, right?
Yes.
So as you guys can see, let me get into another thing here. Draw this one. If you follow this up and see how things take you over, and then other things take you down, and then these take you over. You see that?
Into the forest.
Yeah, but can you feel the tunnel in this, everyone? So this is called the tunnel composition. See? I moved you around. And this whole composition, you know, oftentimes when you're looking into a path, it goes into a tunnel-like composition. So just to let you know, I mean, there is a framework. Even in the photograph, there is a framework, but it's, you know, it's again, it's knowledge. So once you understand these frameworks, though, you begin to start not being dominated by it, but you actually controlling what's going on. That's why you learn things like frameworks. So there's a classic tunnel composition right there. Yes.
Yeah, I think it came out pretty good. I did another one also, but I think the yellow went away, but that was okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. You know, I didn't even think of that. It didn't matter to me at all.
But I have a cabin in the woods, and the one with all the orange in the back reminded me of a forest fire. So I'm glad you didn't pick that one.
Oh, really? What woods?
Big Bear.
Oh, Big Bear. Hey, cool. You know, my mom and dad met in Big Bear.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. My grandma used to have a tavern up there way back in the 50s.
Oh, what days those were.
Must have been.
But the fire is just, the orange looks like fire in the woods.
Yeah. This is just a very beautiful, poetic looking piece.
Oh, thank you. I like to use a lot of different colors everywhere
Yeah.
because I think that that's how it is out there in the universe.
Well, yeah, as we're getting a better look at it through those telescopes, the Hubble telescope or whatever, we're starting to see it is quite beautiful out there.
And I tried to make the shapes not all the same.
Yeah, these really dark darks are working for you too, these darks. Yeah.
Bringing you into the picture. I don't know, I enjoyed doing it. Thank you so much for all the help.
You're welcome. That's a nice, beautiful poetic piece.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alice. Hey.
Hi, Rob.
Hey. Yes?
That's not the one I wanted to show. Sorry,
Oh.
I didn't finish this one. It's the one that says painting 2.
Oh, this next one. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. There's another one. Let's see. Must be way up here.
It says painting 2.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you did 2, huh?
Yeah, I did this one yesterday.
Oh, okay. So you cheated. I'm just
The
joking.
one from today I didn't finish yet, so I thought.
That's fine. Now, one real quick, I mean, this is a beautiful piece. Real pretty, real stark. I would call this a stark contrast. So with really dark darks and really bright lights, this happens quite a bit in the middle of the day. And that's when this painting was, the photograph was taken. So you get these really dark darks here.
Yeah.
Very bright lights. And that's what gives you that very stark contrast.
But like you said, the path is in the middle of the.
Yeah, you know what? There's different ways to handle that too. If it bothers you, you can throw like more bush over it. Like over here. Yeah, it's definitely doable. You can take a little bit more of this bush over here, maybe take a little bit more of this, and then you get sort of a zigzaggy thing happening.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I can't tell you how many times I've done a piece. I'm doing the piece and I go, this is great. I really like this. I had such a great day. And I get home, I look at it and go, what did I put that right in the middle. I always tell you what to do. And I think, do I care or do I not care? Sometimes I do. One thing I would do here is attach these shadows to these things over here. Make sure that this area gets covered.
Yes.
A little bit more because these would be, they're pretty dense and they're casting shadow. Now over here, I might get really sparse, the shadow. But right next to the object's casting it, you want to get it nice and covered, and then let it get dappled out here. Yeah. So just a quick little glaze right in there would do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Small. I like these your twigginess. Twiggilishness. Yeah, they're fun. Isn't that? You do all this background just so you can throw a wonderful little twig over it.
Yeah, I have fun with this painting.
Well, good. I could see you, see how this one ends right here? I could see you maybe very delicately, like some of these back here, very delicately throwing not nearly that dark, but I mean like a very sort of delicate little ending.
Okay.
Just to give it,
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, a little bit of here and there. I mean, they can do that in nature. I mean, no question. I've seen branches that look kind of, I I guess the word is stark, but I would give them a you know, little tweaks here and there. Oh, let's play with it.
I think I painted over that piece of whatever that's called, that branch that was across.
Oh yeah.
I tried to paint halfway down at some kind of foliage, and it doesn't work. I think I need to make it more one piece.
Oh, you mean right here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you could maybe pull some out here and there.
I need to put that back in.
Well, I think if you put too much dark, it'll really make a big issue out of itself, you know?
Okay.
I think you're fine just having a little foliage over it.
Okay.
I'll leave that up to you. This is a really interesting, I love this little scattered sketch right there. I don't know if that's a word, but it's like a thatch or something.
Yeah.
I heard a word like that once before. That's a great way to handle that. Really stark too, those shadows. Wow. I see them like that sometimes. Great to be able to catch that.
Accident.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy accidents. All right, and
thank you.
Yeah, I think it's looking great. Yeah, just a couple little notes there. Okay, let's get back here now. We're at Suzanne. Clear all drawings. Okay. All right. Are you there, Suzanne?
Yes, I am. I unmuted.
Let's see. Yeah, this is good. I like that you have that shadow next to these. It's pretty solid, and then over here it gets lighter. Yeah, that looks good. You have nice dark at the base. That's good. I think I might loosen up the edges on the side of this path.
Okay.
Just a little bit of stuff sticks up all over the path once in a while, you know, maybe a little bit of this, you know, you could even have a little, who knows, twigs and things. I know on a really well-used path, oftentimes you don't have a lot of, but I'll throw them in anyway, just because it looks a little less cultivated, you know?
Right.
And again, you see how you have this this batch right here? I might take a little bit back over there.
Right. Okay.
Just for the overlapping.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just stop right where that looks a little sparse.
Right.
Just add a little bit right in there. I mean, you don't have any major problems here. Oh, but remember earlier oftentimes when you have 3 or so verticals right next to each other,
yeah.
Sometimes you might want to throw in something kind of, you know,
okay,
maybe not that dark, but
right.
A couple of little, like this one, that's nice. A few of those can really help to break things up. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Occasionally on a piece like this, if you want to give it a little bit of pop, think of it like spicing your food. I love to use the food analogy because it really, I don't know, it rings true with me. But occasionally, like if you came back and hit a little bit of a little hard accent of some real saturated color once in a while, maybe not that saturated, but let's see if we go with this little more transparent one here. You know, something occasionally. You know,
Alright,
red accents. Just a little statement of color once in a while.
Okay.
That's fun to play with. Those are just very intuitive things. Just let them happen. I like to think to myself, what if I were to try this? And I just approach everything with that attitude and just see. I can't tell you, it usually works. It usually works. The why not attitude. A little bit more why not.
Okay.
These red accents you have up in here are great. These are great. I'm not just saying red either. I'm just saying, you know, I'm just using those as examples, but you certainly could. You have enough cool though, right? There's plenty of cool. So occasionally a little warmth here and there, like maybe some orange.
Okay.
Maybe down there. Something like that. Just accents. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Toby. You have two of them, huh? Let's see.
I just have the wrong format there. So the other one is vertical.
Okay. Yeah, shot at a little bit more of an angle. That's okay. Let's see. Nice looking color. All right. Nice looking color statements. And you've got your style going on there. Let's see. Occasionally, off color. Occasionally, I might throw a little bit of blue right under some foliage here and there. Because the light hits this, boom, hits that, and then it'll cast a little bit of a shadow over a little bit of right onto the tree. Possibly also, let's see, really small. If we hit a little more, I see you're hitting it. Maybe solidify the shadow a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe that could help. Let's see. You have plenty of accents. Accents everywhere. You got a Russian accent there. You got a Brazilian over here. Okay. We got let's see. And you know, sometimes let's see. You see how there's like a hard cutoff between the blue here and the yellow? So what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of blue up into my yellow here occasionally, and then drag a little yellow down into my blue, and just to get a little bit of tying together. I'll do the same thing up here. Sounds good. Integration, they call it. Let's see. Yeah. Make sure you get a nice solid shadow right underneath these. With that being that dark, you're not going to get a lot of light down, so I would get something dark. Dark down in there, and then it gets a little lighter. So not only dark on the bush, but a little bit like right under the bush, and then it gets lighter and lighter and lighter.
Okay, that helps. Yeah.
It helps to ground them, yeah. If anything feels like it's floating, that means that it just needs a little bit of grounding. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
A little grounding. So I'll throw a little bit of shading underneath, like in here. Just a little bit of shading like that. And think of the direction of the light. The light's going to be hitting like this. So the shadows will be on the right-hand side. You can see a little bit more on there. Now, I know I'm using one solid line. I'm probably over-exaggerating this a little too much with this one right here. But, like if you put it in that solid, it's going to look kind of weird. So just think of there being a side to a long pole, basically, a big cylinder, and give it a little shadow on that side. Other than that, I think we're looking pretty darn good. And one thing, you see how your green doesn't really overlap the yellow very much?
Yeah.
And so I could see, I know maybe you didn't want to ruin the yellow or something, but everything's a sacrifice.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that area. It looked kind of odd.
Just a little overlapping. Oh, go back to the big ones. The big design concepts usually will take care of you. So it's overlapping, tangents, avoid symmetry. One of those big ones. One of those biggies probably the issue. And you know, it might not even be a bad idea to take notes. You know, those notes from class, and just open them up and put them there. Oh yeah, avoid symmetry. Like I probably should have laid out the rule of thirds when I was even putting this out. I didn't think of it, but my bad. So, all right, yeah, a little overlapping.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Yeah.
That's about it. The diagonal really helps. I don't know if it needs to be any stronger than you want it to, and then you have it in there already. I see these little diagonals. See, that's clever the way you did this one. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it's what it's supposed to be doing, breaking up the monotony. Okay. All right. That's about it.
Great. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Francis. Hey, wow. That looks like a Phobos painting right there.
Well, I think for me, Rob, I need next week to actually do all three of the pictures you send us prior to the class, because just because I haven't painted very much, I can't keep up. So by the time I've gotten the paint mix, then we're on to something else. So that, I think that would help me maybe.
Yeah.
This one's kind of a total loss, so you can move on if you like.
Well, I like it. I like these big color statements. The only thing I was thinking of was maybe you could. I mean, I love this big giant area of yellow. That's wonderful. I think I would throw in a little bit more, like a little bit more shading over here, and then bring them over a little bit darker.
Okay.
And probably not as little as I'm doing them. Mine are a little. But this is the theory behind it: is that these things are casting the shadow, so most of the shadow is going to be right up and under them. And then this side will be mostly in light. Another fun little thing to do is take some of these edges, play with these edges, like dry brush some really scratchy little raggedy edges.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll silhouette up against this path really nice. So you have this light behind them and this dark in front of them, giving you a really nice silhouette. That's fun.
The big shapes are quite amazing.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you've got some very solid negative shapes here. Wow.
Interesting. They're interesting.
Yeah, I might with this maybe take it out a little further, maybe overlap some of this sky with a little bit of that.
Okay.
Let's see. You see, you got a little bit of a tangent right there, right?
Yeah.
So just overlap a little bit, take a little bit behind it, or easy enough. By the way, it's a lot easier for me to see this in your work than it is for me to see it in my own work. It's so hard to see it in your own work. You'll probably notice that when you're looking at other people's work, you'll see things. You'll see little issues or maybe things you would have done. You know, I don't know if you do this, but I sure used to do this. When I would have a teacher critiquing other people's work in class, I would sit there and try to predict what the teacher's going to say.
Yeah.
And get that little smile on my face. Yes, I knew it. I knew it. You know, no, it's just, it's kind of neat. Actually, after a while, you learn that it really does come back to those big design concepts, almost always. So, see this this dark here?
Yeah.
I would pull a little bit of that behind. A little bit behind the others.
Okay.
A little bit of overlapping there. I did the same thing and I had to come back and pull it behind the others. I think it fixed it like 5 minutes before I stopped. So.
Okay.
Yeah, this looks very Fauvist. You know what I mean? Like the Fauves, you know what I mean, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Big, bold statements. That's the way to, you know, it's a good idea to start a painting off like this. And then if you want to mute things down with, you know, grays usually mute things down. That's the way I do it. But I always start off big and bold like this and then mute down. So.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Good process, yes. Thank you. Louise. All right. Okay, Louise. Now this looks very light and delicate. Which you've heard me say this many times, but that is what most people think of when they think of a watercolor. It's not necessarily correct or anything, but most people think of very light paintings when they think of watercolors.
Yes. Yeah, your advice to Francis about it's good to be bold and then to tone down.
Yeah.
I always thought the opposite. Like for me, this painting is unfinished because it needs to be pumped up. You know, it needs to be accented, and it's basically unfinished. Yeah.
So you came in with some darks, maybe on both sides of this. A little bit maybe here too. Or yeah, just setting this off here, maybe lacing this through there. Give yourself a nice little poppy areas. See what that does? Just those darks, it really, that might be too dark, but I mean, it really brings things out, you know, really. So you're, you know, I would say 3/4 done. I would use this piece to exactly what you said to do was, and that means you are learning. When you can critique your own work like that, no, that means you are learning. When you say it needs to be accented and it needs to be popped in contrast. Well, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I did also notice we have this kind of. I would like to see a little bit more of this green pulled over.
Okay.
Here and there, and you could even take a little of the yellow and, you know, occasionally pull it behind so you don't get that
Right.
like a stark angle.
Now, what's wrong with the path? There's something wrong with the path.
It's a little hard edged.
Right.
So what can we do? Well, you have this bush here, right? Let's see. You can take. Let me draw with my little opaque one here. Let's see, have a sagey color. It's a little light. Let's say you have something like this. And what you do is you just pull it over a little further, and that'll break up the straightness of the path. Occasionally, make sure they overlap once in a while, these bushes too, because you don't want them, because you'll end up like this. You know, it'll look a little like goofy. So occasionally overlap some of the bushes like this, and that'll break up the edge. You can even do a little bit here, okay? Maybe not in that green. You know, I'm just using this green because it's there. I do the same over here. Just pull some stuff up and over the path.
Yeah.
It's an easy fix.
Yeah.
And then I get really nice shadows going all the way across here and there. Get them really nice and dark right under the object, casting it like that. Really give it a nice little dark in there. Swap it. Smack it. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Here. This area too could use a couple, you know, it's kind of faint looking. So it just needs,
It's not finished, yeah.
go in it with some darks.
Uh-huh.
Think about branches. Think about also giving it light and like if you have a bush here, you know, most of the shadow is going to be on the right side.
Mhm.
So think about that as you're putting in your values and shadows. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jane, did we do Jane? Yeah, we did Jane. Okay. Claire. Oops. How come it's so big? Let's see if I can. Oh boy, it's making it bigger. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, you maybe whoa. Maybe don't shoot it at such high resolution. Are you there, Claire? Let's see. Maybe unmute yourself. I can't see it. Oh, I can't hear you very well. I can hear something though. I don't know what happened. I can barely hear you. I have you on,
Better?
yeah, I have you on full blast now. I can't see your piece. It's too big.
It's the same way I usually do it, but I can do it again and send it to me later.
Are you on a Mac?
No, I'm on a PC.
On a PC.
Ron, it looks like you had the picture on 300%.
I did?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to make it smaller. Okay, that's doing something. And now it's making my background bigger. That's weird. I can't do anything. I can't work with it.
I'll try resending it.
I can see that. I can almost see it. That's about as good as I can get it right there. Let's see.
I'll resend it. How about
Okay,
that?
no problem. Yeah, let's do that. Maybe try shooting it at a little lower resolution, or
I'm not sure how to adjust the camera phone.
okay. Let's see what we got here now. Okay, Katie. All right. Got kind of a shadow over the top of it, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of the same things. Let's see. I know palettes can be, you know, you got to get in there. Remember what I said maybe a long time ago? I'm not sure about it. Try doing a lot of paths and rocks and weeds. They're in almost every painting. But take things up and over your path like that, you know. Here, just kind of break up the sides. Okay. Pull some bushes open over it, like that. Okay. It doesn't take much. And now this really feels like dappled shadows. And I have struggled with dappled shadows. I know they kind of link together a little bit more. And And I may have failed to say this, but less is more with those stippled shadows. Oh my gosh, they can get away from you. Looks like you have a lot of shadow on here. It's kind of hard to take them off when you put them on. If you wanted to, you could throw in some white over there and cover them up if you like in places. So watch out for even spacing. They're almost the same size. So what you want is like a big fat one in the foreground and maybe a skinny linear one in the background. And things like that. So paths, they are tricky. They're so deceptive. They're so deceptive. They can be a lot of fun though. I would take this shadow too right here in the foreground. I'd take this right up and over, maybe over some of this. I mean, maybe take it down and over, then up and over the rock possibly. Just because you don't want it ending right there at this line.
Okay.
And let's see. We have a lot of hard edges back here. So what you can do is just lay down a little bit of water. Just lay down some water, let it sit, and then take the same color and just work it right into it, and the water will just dissipate the whole thing and loosen the edge. Yeah, I mean, I do it all the time.
Yeah, I didn't really even notice that until I took the picture and it was like, ugh. Yeah.
At the last second.
Yeah.
Well, that happens. And then oftentimes if I lay down something really like this, really absolute, if you wanted to give it that lost and found quality, what I'll do is I'll lay it down like that, and then I'll just take water and pull out a few little areas, and it feels like the foliage is going over.
Yeah.
At this point, you can't really do that, but what you can do is drag a little bit of that yellow right over it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would drag it right over here and there, not everywhere, just a few little places to give you a touch of overlapping.
Okay.
Yeah. Here and there. And I especially on the ends of things, like here and here.
Yeah. Because
they might be going into a batch of foliage. So it's like, especially here as it goes into possibly some foliage here. Just throw in some yellow over it, and it'll make it feel like it's coming out of. I'm just looking at mine. Mine could use a little bit of that too. So.
Yeah. Instead of coming out of thin air.
They'll do that. And, we're just people. We paint what we see and what we feel, and